Hey, everybody. First of all, I want to thank everybody for watching and tuning in. And it's my pleasure to introduce my friend, the Fayette County State Court Judge for Georgia, who can run in the Bay Area. Pay attention, Oaklanders, and win. I kid you not. He is that community-minded. I'm proud to call him my friend. Judge, how you doing?
Zennie, friend, good to catch up with you. I know that it has been too long. We did a video a while ago, but all is well in my world. So good catching up with you. How are you doing?
I'm never better. Actually, Zennie62 Media is now a Delaware C Corp, and I've got 3 jobs: my mother, my company, and me. And me is like a distant third. So I'm happy. I'm happy.
Well, I remember we met through your mother. So because she was in court one day, so please tell her hello. I think very highly of her.
She sings your praises. She's just like. I think people actually know the story, but I won't recount it for the interest of time. This is your time. But she sings your praises to this day, and many other people do, since we're on Facebook and connected as well. So yeah, definitely.
Thanks.
Hey, Steve, for people who are going to watch this, who might be in Bangladesh or watching it for the first time, tell them, talk to, as I say, I think the popular saying is now, talk to me like I'm 5-year-old. What do you do as the Fayette County, Georgia State Court Judge?
Sure. Well, Zennie, coming to you live here from Fayette County, just outside the metro Atlanta area. As a state court judge, I preside over both civil and criminal jury trials. So in Georgia, we have judges that will be presiding over all types of cases, and they have different specialties. It might be a juvenile court judge, obviously juvenile cases, a probate court judge who might do wills, estates, and trust. We'll have municipal court judges, and they might be presiding over traffic tickets in certain cities and issues there. And then I preside over, like I said, jury trials. So if anybody has been charged with a crime in Georgia and they want to have a jury trial, they'll come into this courtroom and we will have that type of jury trial. I preside over misdemeanor cases. So that can range anywhere from, believe it or not, in Georgia, you could have a jury trial on a speeding ticket case if you wanted to. Most of the cases I see are drug-related, driving under the influence, whether it's alcohol, drugs, prescription drugs, possession of drugs. Might also have shoplifting cases, domestic violence, and they kind of all stem to a drug problem. A lot of people are stealing for a drug habit. Maybe they get abusive with their family because of something in their system, substance abuse issue that's causing the violence. But most of what I do on the criminal side, those are my types of cases. But on the civil side, I can also preside over jury trials where money is at issue. So it doesn't matter what the jurisdictional amount is, whether somebody's suing somebody for $1 or $1 billion, they can sue here in Fayette County State Court. So I get a lot of auto accident cases, medical malpractice cases, wrongful death cases. So I handle all of those matters. So the exception on the civil side is I can only award money to somebody. I cannot change somebody's name. I cannot change custody with a child. So I don't do any of the divorce cases. But my job is basically to make sure that if somebody wants a jury trial in the criminal setting or civil law setting, this is the forum they come to when they hear the cases here, from the beginning of the case all the way through the verdict. And that's my job here as state court judge.
How has your job been impacted by the coronavirus, the pandemic?
Obviously, things have changed. COVID changed a lot, not just here in Georgia, but everywhere. And the jury system was changed dramatically. Up until a few months ago, Zennie, there was actually a prohibition in Georgia from the Georgia Supreme Court that we were not allowed to conduct jury trials. That's one of the main things I do is jury trials. So I was not able to conduct those. That didn't mean we didn't have court. That didn't mean the court wasn't open. We did open the courthouse. We opened it just differently. We handled our cases differently, and we handled everything up until the jury trial process. So that meant that anything pre-jury trial we could still handle. If somebody had motions, we can still handle that. Somebody, we need to have hearings to go over their rights, we can do that. On a civil side, if they were negotiating their cases, I could still send them to something called mediation where they handled it. We still did all of that. But what COVID did for us, Zennie, is we had to transform how we handled court and just do it differently. So the court system should never close. We want people to have access to the courts. If they're sitting in jail, we don't want the fact that the court system, we can't have jury trials, slow things down and people are sitting in jail when they shouldn't be. If people need justice because there's a case going forward, we don't want us to slow down their pursuit of justice. So we just had to find ways of doing it differently. One way we did it differently, Zennie, was my normal calendars that I would have called 2 years ago, I might have had 50 to 100 cases on the calendar. Well, when you have a courtroom that sits 50 to 100 and we're trying to social distance, that doesn't work. So what we had to do there is we had to spread cases out throughout the day. So yesterday I handled a calendar where instead of calling in 100 cases at 8:30, I called in 20 at 8:30, 20 at 9:30, 20 at 10:30, 20 at 11:30, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We just spread everybody out. When they come into the courtroom, we made sure they were spread out. And we made sure safety protocols were in place in the courtroom. There was plexiglass everywhere. When coming into the courtroom, it was required that people wear their face mask. Before anybody came up to the podium and after people came up to the podium, we wiped down the podium. We made sure it was disinfected. We had a team of interns here. That was basically their job. They were basically podium wipers. They wiped everything down. They wiped the tables down. In between the court sessions, they disinfected the courtroom. So we did all of that. So when people came to the courthouse, we made sure it was a safe environment for them. So really what we did is we followed all the guidelines, the CDC guidelines, Department of Public Health guidelines, to make sure the courthouse was a safe place for them because we still needed to have court. But Zennie, one thing that we had to change again was the jury trials. For a long time, we could not do them. But when we were allowed to do jury trials, we had to be creative. Normally, we would have a jury box where the jury sits during a trial. And it's a pretty compact place where they can sit. And they don't sit 6 feet apart. And then we would have a gallery where people could come and watch the trial. So what we had to do is we flipped the script. When people come in for a jury trial now, the jury sits where the gallery would. So we have room for 100 to watch, but we would put our 12 jurors in the gallery. The observers would sit in the jury box. We would spread them out. And that leaves us room for about 3 observers. If we had more than 3 observers, we would use the technology to live stream the trial into another courtroom where they could go watch and observe. So we could have the jury trial, we could maintain the distance and still have the trial here, but the observers would observe the court session in the courtroom. So we just had to be creative. We just had to find new ways of doing it. The technology is there for us to use it, where we can use cameras in the courtroom, which is very nice because people want to know what's going on in the courtroom. They want to know what's going on in the courthouse, and they should have access to the courthouse. And so now when we have these platforms, I can live stream a court case and they don't have to come to the courthouse and watch. If they're interested in it, they can watch from a social media platform. They can watch from YouTube. They can watch from Facebook and see a trial if they want to. And so my colleagues across the state, we're adopting that. We're using that so people can watch from the Bay Area. Even if they want to see what's going on in Georgia, they can watch a trial here. You don't have to wait for court TV. You don't have to wait to see if it's going to make the local news. You can watch it if that judge is streaming it, via Facebook, YouTube, or whatever social media platform they're choosing to do. So we're slowly getting back to normal here, Zennie, but I'm still going to adopt some of the changes we made, because you go back and you look at it and you think, all right, that's a better way of doing it. I would have never thought about it had we not gone through the pandemic, but we're going to keep some of those changes we've made for the future.
How far back are you in terms of cases? Because a lot of courts, I understand, like in Alameda County, they're backed up a year in some cases. What say you?
So for our criminal jury trials, we are backed up. There's just no way around it. We are a volume court. Even under the best circumstances, we would probably have a calendar that had about 100 cases, just because as soon as cases come in, we reshuffle them back in. I would probably say that we are probably sitting at about 300 cases that need to be tried for criminal jury trials. It would take me a couple of years to catch up with that, but we are going to use other resources, like bringing in other judges who help me preside over them. So I'll be in this courtroom, another judge will be in another courtroom, so we can knock them out twice as fast. On the civil side, we are probably a good year backed up on civil cases as well. So but that's the only area where we're backed up. The folks that want a jury trial, those cases are we're moving those out chunks at a time. But up until the jury trial process, all the cases that are waiting for motions, all the cases that are waiting to be arraigned and have their rights, we're not really backed up there because we've been keeping up. We could do everything but the jury trial. So we're pretty caught up, except for the folks that are sitting waiting for jury trials. And we're knocking those out as fast as we can. So yes, it will be a good year, I think, before we're caught up, maybe a little bit more, but we've got some methods in place to get caught up.
Now on Facebook, you do a great job of posting your initiatives and programs. Talk about something like, for example, I think you have a DUI school and others, or something like that.
Sure. So one thing that we try to do, and as if you noticed on our social media, whether it's our Facebook group, Judge Jason B. Thompson, Fayette County State Court, our Instagram accounts, which is Judge Jason B. Thompson, LinkedIn, all of those platforms, we're trying to promote some of the programs.
Are you on TikTok?
Not on TikTok, but I've got a 12-year-old girl who's like, Daddy, we got to get you on TikTok. We got to get you on TikTok. So that might be next. But one thing I try to do with those social media platforms is, again, we want to promote access to the courtroom and transparency in the courtroom. So I want people to know that this is not my courtroom. It's your courtroom. This is the people's courthouse. So I want you to know what's going on in here. So if we've got a program, is that if there's something we're doing, I want to promote it. And that's when you're seeing things on social media. So what are those things? Within the last number of years, we have implemented internship opportunities for high school students, college students, law school students. We work with a team of interns all year round where they can come into the courtroom. They can either get class credit, they can get stipends, and this is where they can learn firsthand. This is what it's like to practice law. And if you're in high school and if you're interested in law, maybe this is something that'll push you over the edge that, hey, I'm really now interested in law more than I ever thought I was. So I want to go to law school. I want to continue this pursuit. Or they can look at it and go, whoa, that is not like CSI. That is not like Law and Order. I don't want to do that. So our internship programs we're very, very proud of. Another couple of initiatives that we have pushed is accountability courts. We have two types of accountability courts here in state court. One is a DUI drug court and one is a veterans treatment court. They're different, but they're the same. What we're trying to do is identify folks who have a case in the court system and the underlying offense deals with a substance abuse issue. And we're trying to find a different way to handle their case. What I mean by that, Zennie, is back in the day, we used to take somebody and if they were found guilty, they had a substance abuse issue. The only tool in the toolbox was a jail sentence. And if they had a history of DUIs, drug offenses, et cetera, it was a long jail sentence. The reality is they would go into custody. They would serve their long jail sentence. They would come back out and it would be rinse and repeat. The studies show if you do that, the chances of you reoffending are about 70%. So we weren't doing anything to help anybody. So we started, and we didn't invent the wheel. There's other programs across the nation, across Georgia that do the same thing. And so we adopted these accountability courts where if you have an underlying substance abuse issue, plan B, instead of plan A being a long jail sentence, is you come into this program where you're going to commit about 18 months. 18 months of meeting with me in the courtroom twice a month, going to individual counseling sessions, group counseling sessions, AA meetings, NA meetings. You have to every morning call in a phone number between 4 and 7 a.m. And if your number is called, you got to go immediately for drug and alcohol testing that day. You have to be willing to let a law enforcement officer search your person or your place or your residence for any contraband at any time they want to without a warrant. And you have to maintain full-time employment. And if you can do that for 18 months and you progress through the program, the studies show that the odds of reoffending have decreased from about 70% down to about 17%. Wow. And we're giving them the tools they need to hopefully lead a clean and sober lifestyle. It's a program that it helps our community, it promotes public safety, but it saves lives, it saves families, and it saves jobs because some of these folks are vital members of our community that are working, and the employers, they are losing key employers when these people have to go into custody. And Zennie, sometimes people ask me and they say, what's a typical accountability court participant look like, whether they go into your DUI drug court or your veterans treatment court. And I tell them there is no average look. Our youngest was 18. Our oldest was 72. Male, female, all races, all backgrounds. And here's the kicker: as far as educational background, we range anywhere from somebody who has not completed high school all the way to a medical doctor. So it just shows you the range of folks that this issue can impact and their families and their jobs. So again, we're dealing with folks who have substance abuse issues or finding a different way to handle their case. And if they go through the program, great, they're rewarded. They have less jail time. But if they don't complete the program, let's say they just they don't buy into it. They're continuing to test positive. They don't come to court. Then, because to come into the program, you have to enter into a guilty plea and you're technically on probation, they could have their probation revoked and they could go back to jail. So it's there's a carrot, there's a stick. But for the folks who really put in the hard work, it can be a great incentive for the program. And the Veterans Treatment Court is kind of the same animal, but a little bit different, because we're still looking for folks who have a substance abuse issue or maybe a PTSD trigger that causes them to do this. And they have to do the same thing, but we do match them up with a veteran, somebody who's going to be their battle buddy and help them get through the program. So there's that veteran component. We also pair up with a representative from the VA, if there's any resources that we can help the veteran. So it's the same as our DUI drug court program, with the exception of now you have a veteran mentor to help them along the way, and we provide the resources from the VA. So both of these programs, we are working hard for our community to give folks who, if they have that substance abuse issue, a PTSD issue, this is going to give them a different way to handle their case and hopefully have a better outcome, so that when they are done, again, they're going to be closer to that 17% chance of reoffending than the 70% chance of reoffending. So those are our main programs we're promoting.
I know we've got 15 minutes. I want to first thank you, but also add, do you have a website that people can visit or a number they can call to get involved in these programs if they choose to do so?
Absolutely. So the best way they can find us right now is FayetteCountyGA.gov. And from there, under the state court link, it'll link us to our DUI drug court, veterans treatment court programs. So that's FayetteCountyGA.gov, and then just go under the court system. Yes, thank you very much. Another way people can find out about it is on Facebook. They can just look up Judge Jason B. Thompson, Fayette County State Court Judge, and then I'm going to be promoting information there as well, and we constantly post things there as well. But those are the best ways to kind of find out about us, Zennie, and what we're doing. And if they follow on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter, Jason B. Thompson, then we're going to be promoting this information as well, so they can look at it if they just follow on any of those links.
Judge, thanks a lot. Stay in the background. Don't go anywhere. Folks, I want to thank you for watching. And when you see this, share it around, because it's very valuable information. Regardless of where you are, he's one of the best in the country. I can say that because I know a lot of people. So, so Jason, I want to thank you again very, very much for your time. And folks, at 2 o'clock, we're going to have Michael Birch. He used to own Bebo, then he sold it. He and his wife started the Battery in San Francisco. They're coming to Oakland. We're going to have a great conversation. 2 o'clock Eastern. Judge, stick around in the background. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Zennie.